goons. I'm very happy.
Absolutely. In fact, let me go across to my colleague Sambhav Sharma, who's joining us live from the Supreme Court.
धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा, पीड़िता धन्यवाद देना चाहती है। पूरे देश की संवेदना सुनी सुप्रीम कोर्ट, और अभी उस ऑर्डर पे स्टे लग गया है और सुप्रीम कोर्ट सख्त आवाज़ में ये मतलब आदेश दे दिया है निचली कोर्टों में कि अभी किसी भी मामले में उस अपराधी को जेल से बाहर नहीं निकाला जाएगा। और जो ये ऑर्डर है उस पर स्टे है। अपोजिशन को उसमें काउंटर एफिडेविट फाइल करने का टाइम मिला है, और तब तक के लिए उसको किसी भी मामले में छोड़ा नहीं जाएगा, बाहर नहीं निकाला जाएगा। ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट का आदेश है और स्टे है हाईकोर्ट का ऑर्डर में।
संतुष्ट हैं इससे फैसले से?
अभी तक के लिए जो इंटरिम प्रोटेक्शन मिला, राहत मिला है, उसके लिए हम लोग संतुष्ट हैं। आगे भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट से पूरी न्याय की उम्मीद है, न्यायपालिका पे भरोसा है पीड़ित परिवार को और पूरे पीड़िता को।
अपना नाम बता दीजिए।
मैं एडवोकेट हेमंत कुमार मौर्य। और एक एडिशनल मैं कर रहा हूँ कि उस परिवार को अभी भी थ्रेट मिल रहे हैं। उसके जो चाचा हैं 9 साल से जेल से बाहर नहीं निकल पाए हैं, फर्जी केसेज में उनको फंसा के रखा गया है, उसके प्रॉपर्टी को हड़पने की कोशिश की जा रही है। दूसरी बात, आज सुबह में मेरी फ़ोन आई उसके रिलेटिव का, जिसका मैं नाम डिस्क्लोज नहीं करना चाहूँगा। उसका माइनर बच्चा है, उसके स्कूल का जो एडमिशन है उसमें जो 9th क्लास जो बोर्ड में रजिस्ट्रेशन होता है, वहाँ पर उन्होंने स्कूल वाले रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं करने दे रहे हैं। अलग अलग उनके जो अपराधी है उसके एसोसिएट्स द्वारा इस परिवार को अलग अलग एंगल से परेशान करने की अभी भी कोशिश की जा रही है और बाहर निकलना खतरा।
कौन दे रहा है?
ये अपराधी के एसोसिएट्स हैं, जिनका नाम मतलब तो नहीं, लेकिन वो अलग अलग तरीके से। नहीं, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में लिस्टिंग हुई थी, सीबीआई ने फाइल किया था, उसके जो हाई कोर्ट में रिलीफ लेता है। बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, ये चीज़ तो मेंशन नहीं कि ये सेपरेट चीज़ है। उसके लिए हम जो लीगल प्रोसीजर है वो हम आगे देखेंगे।
ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है, थैंक यू थैंक यू थैंक यू सर। सिंगल आईडी कर लेते हैं।
Right. In fact, let me go across to Sambhav Sharma, who's joining us live from outside the Supreme Court. Sambhav, you've been tracking all those details since morning. We finally have the Supreme Court staying the Delhi High Court order. It's saying that Sengar should be not released from jail. He's already inside jail for one case, and it actually stayed the operation of the High Court order. Sambhav.
Well, absolutely. Here the Chief Justice of India, Suryakant, has made it clear that this is a different case. Generally, we do not take certain this kind of stress, but here the Supreme Court has stayed this particular ruling of the Delhi High Court granting bail to rape convict Kuldeep Sengar here. So after this, when we spoke to Yogita Bayana, activist, and she said, yes, it's a sigh of relief, and also she's welcoming this Supreme Court's particular order today. And the Supreme Court has very clearly has stayed the Delhi High Court's order, noting that Sengar is inside the jail for another case, and Supreme Court has stated the operation of the Delhi High Court order, and Sengar shall not be released from the jail. So this is what is the latest from the court number 1 of the Supreme Court, where 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court led by the Chief Justice of India, the vacation bench of the Supreme Court, heard this matter. Detailed argument happened in the Supreme Court number 1, where Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who appeared for the Central Bureau of Investigation, has questioned the Delhi High Court's December 23rd order granting conditional bail to Kuldeep Sengar, and also the bone of contention was the definition of public servant, and he also quoted certain sections of Prevention of Children Against Sexual Offences Act, POSCO Act, and the role of Kuldeep Sengar, and the timeline was discussed in detail in the Supreme Court, and later on, after 30 to 35 minutes of crucial hearing, heated arguments in the Supreme Court, court number 1, the Supreme Court has stayed the Delhi High Court's order, noting that Sengar is inside the jail in another case. And generally, the CJI has said generally we do not take these kind of stress, but here it's a different case. He has a peculiar, special, different case. Hence, the CJI has taken this step and stayed the Delhi High Court's order. Supreme Court has stayed the stayed the operation of the Delhi High Court order, and Sengar shall not come out or released from the jail. So this is what is the latest from the top court.
Right. Thank you so much, Samba, for joining us on the broadcast and providing us with those latest updates. Let me go across to Mr. Singh, who is still with us on the broadcast. Mr. R.K. Singh, we finally have the Supreme Court order. They are staying it. They had, in fact, earlier mentioned as well that they are inclined to stay this order because he's already in jail for another offence. This man should not be released from jail under any circumstances.
Yes, Ivani, right from the day one, since the day this judgment came, I was quite confident that this judgment in Supreme Court will be stayed. I mean, this judgment will not bypass the scrutiny of the Supreme Court. So I am very happy. I am really very happy. And three things are very important to this stay order of Supreme Court is a big message to all those powerful criminals who think they are beyond the scope of law. They can twist the gray areas of law to get out of jail and arm twist the law in the technicalities of their own wisdom. Secondly, by employing big and great lawyers necessarily doesn't mean that they exhume you from the guilt. Thirdly, the most important is the role the media played. The role you all played in this case is absolutely, this must be appreciated with all open-heartedness. Second and third, and the last one is very important. A conscious society is a pervasive society. A conscious society is a society which has far better weight than any other law of this country. A society which is conscious to the rights, the rights of its citizen, is something which is going to bend any institution of this country. And this is one big example of all the collective effort the society has taken against this criminal and accused. So I am very, very happy, and with this, I will take an excuse because I have to go. Somewhere I have been waiting.
No, yes. Thank you so much, Mr. R.K. Singh, for joining us on the broadcast. In fact, let me go across to Advocate Tanush Gupta. So when we are talking about this entire hearing that is also had taken place in the Supreme Court, there were also talks about how there were statements being made in the media against the judges. However, this CJI in fact said that nobody should be bothered about it because they are also tracking all those things. So that was also something that had been presented by the lawyers of the accused during this entire hearing, sir.
Yes, absolutely. Media always play a vital role, and always I appreciate the media trial also because it exposed the ground zero reality to the courts which are being hidden by the such kind of people. So it is more useful when the media helps to open such matters and in this way. I also appreciate what does have Mr. Singh just said, that no escape route through the technicalities in this child rape cases. So this is the most important what the Supreme Court has just mentioned, that this debate is not about the accused rights. It's overpowering everything as a child dignity come first. So this matters a lot because society is watching. And if courts often hear, predators feel emboldened, and this is unacceptable. So I must say that what have Supreme Court just ordered is appreciate, and it has to be like in the same manner. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, let me go across to Mr. Rao, who's also with us on the broadcast. Mr. Rao, when we are looking at this entire case, obviously there were talks about how he's an MLA. That does not come into the context because that's what the Delhi High Court order judgment had stated. But the Supreme Court has said, they have observed that you cannot distinguish between an MLA who has so much power, because he will obviously have influence in this entire case if he was the MLA in the area when the crime was committed. Mr. Renilao.
Yes, ma'am. I could not listen to your question.
Yeah,
I was,
so we were talking about his influence.
Yes, definitely the influence is as it is shown in this case. No influence bigger or the maybe mighty person I think according to this today's verdict of the Honorable Supreme Court, it all depends upon that all men are equal, and whatever the mighty people may be, he cannot get away with the law of our land. And I think the final judgment will also be in favor of the victim. And that there's such type of mighty people who have committed continuous offense after this commission of this rape on the minor girl, then definitely it shows that conduct of the accused, and such type of conduct cannot be tolerated in our society, civil society. I think that this verdict will go a long way, and it will be a precedent for the coming years also to get benefit in the cases of minors victims, and let us see what is the final judgment in this case on the next date of hearing after getting the response from the CBI in this matter.
Right. Let me go across to Advocate Ashwini Dubey as well. Sir, when we're looking at this order that has come in from the Supreme Court, they have stated that, an notice should be issued to Sengar as well on this entire case. And there are substantial questions of law that are involved. What do you make of it?
Yes, substantial question of law is involved, because one of the argument of Sengar was that a penal statute cannot import definition from another statute, because the sole basis for giving him relief by the High Court is that the definition which has been given in this case by the trial court of the public servant is not applicable in the given case. So the Supreme Court said, yes, this requires a consideration because this question has been very validly asked. But keeping in view, because as per the normal procedure, once any order is passed or matter is to be heard, the notice has to be given to the other side, which is the principle of natural justice, which is one of the intrinsic in the constitutional jurisprudence, and also while hearing to the without hearing other party, the order cannot be passed. So the notice has been issued. Second, the Supreme Court has very categorically said in this matter, and I would quote here for your viewers: ordinarily, when a convict stroke under trial has been released on bail pursuant to trial court or high court orders, such orders should not be stayed by this court without hearing such person. However, respondent is convicted and sentenced in another case under section 304 part 2 IPC and is in the custody of that case, we stay operation of the impugned order in a peculiar facts. Respondent shall not be released from custody pursuant to the impugned order. Victim has a statutory right to file separate appeal, because one of the argument was raised by the victim side, because this appeal was filed by the CBI. Now the victim also has wanted to challenge that order. They said, yes, you can file it, you can challenge it. Now matter will be heard at length at a subsequent time. Kuldeep Sengar will not be released. But what is more important, Shivani, one of the important thing, that if a definition of public servant is defined in this case, that would be having far-reaching impact, not only with respect to the cases which are against the women or the children, that would be having impact with respect to the other offences as well. Because if any offence is committed under the Indian Penal Code and MP/MLAs are not covered as a public servant, definition only says the public servant who discharge the public duties, given the fact, if you see the MP/MLAs also discharge the public duties, they get the salary, they get all the benefits. Even if this definition is given a wide scope, then the MP/MLAs who commit such acts and despite go to the parliament and discharge their duties, that will also come in the fray. Number two, if sometime they are exempted from being tried as a public servant in these kind of cases, because the Indian Penal Code or now the BNS has given them exemption. In this case, if public servant is defined, then definitely MP/MLAs will be covered. So let's see what happens tomorrow. It's a welcoming order by the High Court, Supreme Court. And always I said, as I said earlier also, now also, trial court convicted him in its own wisdom. High Court passed an order in its own wisdom. Supreme Court stayed in its own wisdom. So all three courts, if you see, have applied their wisdom, judicial discretion and interpretation of law. Over to you.
In fact, that's a very important point that you have raised. This issue will in fact be an example when the definition of public servants are set for other cases as well. Let me take that question across to Advocate Tanush Gupta, who's still with us on the broadcast as well. So when you look at the precedent that this case is going to, set, because like Mr. Ashwini Dubey has pointed out, when you give out that definition of a public servant, a lot of cases that involves MPs, that involves MLAs could come under the purview again.
I replied to you, Shivani. First of all, correct my name. It's Tanuj Dixit. Anyways, there are three legal points which I have to discuss about. There are, first, in this case, it's a minor. Minor means no consent. Victim was just 15 legally and consent doesn't exist. It's a straight up a statutory rape. Second point which we should discuss is the POSCO overrides IPC. Conviction in 376 IPC plus POSCO section 5 and 6 is a special law. The stricter punishment is mandatory. So what Supreme Court consistency doctrine is, Supreme Court inclined to follow the previous order and no dilution once guilt is proven. So that has been mandatory in this matter. What Supreme Court have done with the order of the Honorable Delhi High Court. Yes, over to you.
All right. Ms. Tahira Hassan, if you are still with us on the broadcast. Ma'am, when we are talking about this entire issue, the entire influence, the political clout that we have been speaking about, the court has simply stated that a man who is already convicted should not be allowed outside of jail, and hence this entire order should be stayed in the first place.
Yes, already I had said, and the court also took this issue. I'm very happy that when these type of convicted and accused, they get away from the jail, they amplifies fear and discourage reporting and normalize impunity. And the survivor not only face violence, but humiliation and never-ending legal process. Here the Supreme Court gave a very strong message, very powerful message, that nobody is above the law. Whether you are goon, whether you are powerful, influential, you are MLA, you are MP, you are very influential person of your area, then too you cannot get away after committing heinous crime, after violating women's body, after assaulting women's dignity. So I think it's a very powerful message. We all must welcome it, and I'm sure that later on the Supreme Court will squash it also.
Right. In fact, Mr. Ellen Rao, the Supreme Court has also mentioned about justice, ensuring justice for the survivor. They have mentioned that the survivor has the right to approach the Supreme Court directly, and it has also directed that a free legal aid should be provided to her if she required.
Yes, ma'am. In normally, all the survivors or any other person who is below the poverty line, they can seek legal aid also. And in this case, if I recollect that this case was transferred from Unnao only because that there was less chances that in Unnao trial may be affected by this influential person. That's why, on the request of the victim, this case was transferred for trial in Delhi, and it was tried in a special court of Tisdari Court in West District. So, that after conclusion of the trial, very soon it said, I think it was almost on the day-to-day basis, and that's why this case could be, the trial of this case could be concluded and ended into a conviction of this accused person. Now, our government and our system is always prone to the helping to the poor people like this victim. Then they are also given chances to have some legal aid, free legal aid from the government, and here in the DLSA, Delhi Legal Aid Services Authority. So, in this case also, the Honorable Supreme Court has categorically said that they may directly approach to the Supreme Court, or and also they can be provided legal aid, free legal aid for their legal assistance. So this is a very good gesture of the Honorable Supreme Court to all the such type of people who cannot afford a legal person, because nowadays the legal services are very costly. That's why the free legal aid services are being provided by Legal Services Authority of Delhi.
Right, right. In fact, Advocate Ashwini Dubey, when I can come to you on this discussion, the issue over here with the Delhi High Court order was that they had said that he has served the minimum sentence that was there and applicable for section 4, which is sexual assault. They have stated minimum thresholds, but does the question of threshold actually come into the picture when a minor is involved, when there is a, because for section 6, which is aggravated assault, there is this 7 years and 5 months that the Delhi High Court had stated, it does not come into the picture. That is not the minimum for that section 6. But when we talk legally about these things, sir, the question of thresholds and sentencing, does that come into the picture?
See, the courts always maintain balance, the life and liberty of any person. The courts always come and protect that, given the case, if certain interpretations are required or the evidences which has been considered by the trial court, and the appellate court finds that those evidences are erroneous and have to be re-looked into, because the first appeal is always a question of law and fact both. But yes, the POSCO Act is a special act, which is a general neutral act which overrides other acts. And given the fact that the victim's age was less than 18 years, and in that case, the court has reached the court's reaching to the conclusion that 7.5 years have been passed, despite the fact that 20 years punishment was awarded in that case, and it was proved by the trial court. So taking a view that he is not a public servant as per and the provisions of POSCO Act does not specifically mention the definition of public servant, and the interpretation which has been taken from other is but otherwise, if you see, the Supreme Court also considers this kind of punishment. If somebody, even in murder case, has gone the incarceration, served the incarceration of more than 7.5 years or 8 years or 10 years, court always maintains equity and balance. It says that he has already served this period by the time we are releasing him, and if he is found guilty tomorrow, he will be in jail for remaining period. So this is one of the cases when the normal offences are committed. But since the POSCO Act is a special act, number one. Number two, Kuldeep Sengar was in a dominant position in that area. He was the MLA and was influential. And third, one of the other person related to this case was killed. 305 part 2 is already going on. That is the relative of the survivor. So all those cases, the Supreme Court says that, look, given this case, if you give the benefit of that, that is not accepted. Number two, as you said, the section 5 of the POSCO Act. Section 5 of the POSCO Act has two limbs. One of the limbs is public person is the dominant position, one, and number two is a public servant. So of course he was in a dominant position, and therefore the judicial wisdom of the High Court which was adopted in this case is not right. So let's see what happens tomorrow, because we have also seen in some of the cases that trial court and High Court found somebody guilty and Supreme Court acquit him, and some of the cases High Court and trial court quash the case against somebody and acquit him, and the Supreme Court convicts him. That would come tomorrow. But as a student of law, I would say that yes, this matter will definitely set a benchmark so far as the definition of public servant is concerned. Over to you.
Right. All right. Thank you so much. I thank all my guests, Advocate Ashwini Dubey, Ellen Rao, and Advocate Tanuj Dikshit for joining us on the broadcast and providing us with those valuable insights. That's a wrap from us on this bulletin. We'll see you after this short commercial.